Hello and welcome. This is a series, it's a chapter from my new book, Lessons from the Floor, What I Learned While Flat on My Back in a Chocolate Crime Scene, which is available now. And this is a chapter that I think is very important, so I wanted to put it out. It's chapter 13 of the book, actually, and it's called The Food Pyramid of Manifestation. So it will be in 4 different parts, short parts, so let's begin. Hello, thank you for joining me. This is the 3rd part in the series of the Food Pyramid of Manifestation. This one is entitled Sovereign Neutral, the Missing Base of Manifestation. Sovereign neutral is not bliss. It is not ecstasy. It is not high vibe. It is not pretending everything is beautiful while your nervous system is clearly trying to leave the building through your pores. It is baseline. It is the state in which you stop performing spirituality long enough to tell the truth to yourself and to the universe. This is what I'm actually feeling. This is what my body is actually doing. This is the condition I'm actually in. This is the wobble before I rename it alignment because it feels intense. That honesty matters because awareness changes the relationship. When you can see the state, you are no longer fully fused with it. When you can name the bracing, you are less likely to mistake it for intuition. When you can notice the grasping, you are less likely to call it purpose. And when you feel the urgency, you can stop confusing desperation with your destiny. That is the beginning of coherence. And coherence matters more than performance, more than most people want to admit, for sure. Because a person can say they want freedom, clarity, peace, vitality, love, sovereignty, rebirth, all the beautiful words, all the noble outcomes, all the shimmering future self-love language, and still keep feeding the very pattern that maintains the architecture of the life they say they are trying to leave. They're still feeding that past person or the current person. That is not a moral failure, but it does create a confused split signal to the universe. And that is the problem, because split signals create stuck lives. Not because the universe is punitive, not because God is standing over you with a clipboard and a disappointed expression, shaking his head in disappointment because he has to give you out more misery, but because energetic coherence matters more than we realize, more than we're taught. If one part of you is saying, take me forward, while another part keeps privately voting for the old identity, then the system is divided. And a divided system does not move cleanly or clearly. This is why letting go of certain habits, attachments, compulsions, and numbing rituals can feel so much harder than simple discipline would suggest. You're not always just giving up a pleasure. Sometimes you are dissolving a bridge back to a familiar self. And familiar, unfortunately, has tremendous market value in the nervous system. Even when it is exhausting, even when it is embarrassing, even when it has somehow become your emotional self-support sabotage. So when I say coherence matters more than performance, this is part of what I mean. You can't keep saying I am ready for a new reality while remaining deeply loyal to the patterns that keep the old one alive. You cannot ask life for liberation while continuing to fund your own captivity, and then act shocked when what you say you were believing for doesn't show up. That's mixed instructions. That is why manifestation often fails, in my opinion. It is trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, then announcing that the car lacks spiritual alignment. This is why so much transformation work is not glamorous. It's not always about learning some new secret. Sometimes it's about finally telling the truth about what still has your attention, what is still drawing your energy, what still helps you soothe what you need to soothe, what still has your obedience. Because real manifestation, if it means anything at all, is not about performing belief hard enough to force a new future. It is about becoming coherent enough that your inner condition is no longer arguing with your stated direction. And sometimes the most spiritual thing a person can do is not visualize harder. It is stop lying to themselves about what still owns part of their day. Because I've discovered manifestation without regulation becomes just fantasy. Affirmations without coherence becomes noise. Desired outcome held by a dysregulated nervous system actually becomes chasing, forcing, grasping, bargaining, or pretending. A person cannot sustainably feel better by command if their system is not ready to. Trying to force happiness on top of an activation often becomes suppression, disassociation, or spiritual self-bullying. That is not manifestation. That is compensation with better branding. And once you see that, even karma starts to look a little different. All right, we'll see you in part 4. Thank you.